It's happened again. So Tottenham Hotspur lost the Supercup final to Paris Saint-Germain, the quadruple winners, the current reigning champions of Europe, of which they slapped up Inter 5-0 in a record-breaking Champions League final performance. And they were the team to beat until, of course, they met Enzo Maresca's beautiful blue Chelsea boys in the Club World Cup final, who had convincingly beat them after Maresca tactically outclassed Luis Enrique. Gotta get it in there. So what was going to happen in this Super Cup? Thomas Frank, good coach, pragmatic, defensively resolute, can get goals out of forwards. By all accounts, a really good coach that, Tottenham have got, but the likes of United and Chelsea had considered appointing. So, a highly rated coach. He's 50 odd now, so he's not, the youngest coach, but he's pretty progressive. And lots of people didn't know what to think. And for a while there, it did look like PSG had been broken by Maresca's Chelsea, and they were not dealing with an early press from Tottenham very well indeed. Of course, this game was rife with narrative because they had the new boy in goal, Chevalier, who replaced Donnarumma, who's been pushed out, who wasn't utilised in the squad. Incidentally, the game went to penalties and everyone was thinking, oh, Donnarumma's amazing at penalties, should they have not kept him? And Chevalier was really bad on one of the two Tottenham goals. So there was lots of stories, lots of interwoven narrative in this game that we're going to reflect on. And unfortunately for Frank, finding out much like other, winners such as Mourinho and Conte had to learn, it is the history of the Tottenham. You can be winners, you can be great coaches, but the Spursiness will wriggle through and find a way to bottle a 2-0 lead in the last 5 minutes, to bottle a lead in the penalty shootout itself. Look, I'm obviously having fun here. It's rival fan banter, I believe they call it. And you know what, man? I do actually think they're a good team, Tottenham. They probably will make acquisitions, and I do think Frank is an excellent coach. Ultimately, I think he's the right coach for them as well. So let's be fair here. Welcome back to Football Yannick, guys. Daily content here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said, what's the big stories, yeah? Transfers, controversy, and indeed big games like this. Because I love talking about football to you. I love having you here. So please do consider subscribing, because I believe we're over 19,400 subs, which is less than 600 clicks to go until I reach my summer target of 20,000 subscribers. So thanks for joining me and joining the fun. I'm looking at my phone here because I'm looking at the stats from the game last night. The attacking momentum meter, the first half was dominated by Tottenham, and they scored at precisely the right times, the end of the first half and the beginning of the second. But I'm going to see if you can see this. The attacking momentum meter there. So the second half, that is all green. That is all PSG pressure. Now, it's very interesting because I think that was sort of by design by Thomas Frank. He was like, right, we're 2 goals up. I'm a serious coach. Serious coaches, when you're 2 goals up, you show that you're an organised outfit and you just defend your 2-goal lead, and if a really promising opportunity appears on the break from defending deep, then you go and kill the game off completely on 3-0. But didn't work like that. Essentially what they did was, come in PSG, do your thing, and it's pretty wild really, because like I said, that first half, Tottenham really shocked PSG, they broke them. There was a really early goal from Mickey van de Ven. Well, I say it was really early, it wasn't, it was the end of the first half, 39th minute. I believe it was sort of from a corner, and indeed Pedro Porro assists Romero in the 48th minute, so it was really bookended of either side of half-time. And at this point, PSG is going, what's happening? And to be honest, there's a third shot from Tottenham that everyone thought was in. It was just wide of the post. It might have hit the side netting on the outside, and everyone went, ooh! And it was like, oh my God, maybe Chelsea really did break PSG in that Club World Cup final, because they don't look ready here at all. But later on, Kang scores a goal, gets one back, assisted by Vitinha in the 85th minute, guys. So Tottenham were leading 85 minutes. I mean, they're under the cosh at that point, but you're thinking Thomas Frank, serious coach, he's brought on some defending substitutes at that point. 5 minutes. Just don't concede. I know there was stoppage, but don't concede goals. And Kang gets that goal that gives them hope. It's all PSG. 6 minutes stoppage time. 6 minutes stoppage time. And you think, surely they couldn't do it again. And Ousmane Dembele assists Gonzalo Ramos. It's a lovely goal, a little disguised pass to Ousmane, who does a lovely bit of work to assist Gonzalo Ramos. He only gets the 1 assist in this game, but Ousmane Dembele got a 9.5 rating on SofaScore, which means he was by some distance, the best performer in the match for both teams combined. So look, Chevalier was in goal. He was really poor on the second goal, I believe. The Romero goal, and of course, huge microscope with him. He's really good with his feet. He's the ball-playing goalkeeper that Luis Enrique wants. Hakimi, Marquinhos, Pacho, and Nuno Mendes, the first choice back line. Very interesting starting lineup in the midfield. Wasn't what you usually see in Vitinha, Neves and Ruiz. It was Vitinha, Zaire Emery, the youngster, and sort of Doué in the midfield, whose touch map was kind of all over the gaff. He had a really bad game, by all accounts. He's the lowest rated player. Oh, Mickey Van de Ven's the lowest rated player, despite scoring a goal, interestingly, but at 5.8 and 5.9 respectively. So Doué, yeah, really weird. Kvaratskhelia and Dembele playing as the false 9 and Bacola. So yeah, that's a front three you see all the time. It's basically, I think he's trying to find a way to get all of them on the pitch. I guess it's more of a 4-2-3-1 with Doué in a free role, but there's so much rotation. Yeah, Bacola was on the right, Kvaratskhelia was on the left. So it's kind of like Dembele was right inside pocket. Doué was all over the gaff, looking at his touch map. It was peculiar. He does make changes, of course. He brings on Kang, Ruiz. Ruiz made a massive difference, bringing him back into the midfield. And Ramos, as a striker, of course, gets the goal. So the substitutes change the game. It's a weird, peculiar lineup for a setup, you could say, from Luis Enrique. Maybe he was trying something a bit different. Obviously, they haven't really had a pre-season, much like Chelsea. They both got to the final in the Club World Cup. Chelsea looked pretty good in their 2 pre-season games. It was peculiar. I wonder if he thought, try something a bit different. Tottenham aren't going to be the strongest of opposition. He probably thought they were going to be better than when they finished last season, 17th, 1 place above the relegation zone. You know, he probably thinks, right, well, they've got to be better than that. This new guy, Frank, I don't know much about him. By all accounts, he's highly rated. It looks like they're going to be less gung-ho. But maybe this is an opportunity still to not do the classic thing we did all season, because we did that all season and then we met Chelsea in the final and Chelsea absolutely slapped us. So maybe it was an inclination to change things slightly from Luis Enrique, but it was a 5-3-2, it looks like, from Thomas Frank here on SofaScore, a front 2 of Kudus and Richarlison. Pap Sarr played really well, I thought, with a new signing, Paulinho and Bentancur. Boy, that is a functional midfield. And then you got Danzo, Romero, Van de Ven, Jed Spence and Porro in the back line. Jed Spence looking quite speedy, coming up against Hakimi down that flank. And yeah, it was an exciting game. It was interesting. And it's just crazy, isn't it, how the narrative, the content creator narrative is, this is the history of the Tottenham, isn't it? Like, they were 2-0 up 85 minutes in, and, you know, they lost it. It looks like they were the advantage in the penalty shootout. They were ahead in the penalty shootout, and they still lost the penalty shootout. So it was like a double Spursy history of the Tottenham, you know, insert Chiellini meme of him saying, this is the history of the Tottenham. Look, banter aside, it wasn't much like Chelsea in the Club World Cup final. Everyone was like, oh, they're going to get slapped. Chelsea are quite a good team. They've won the Conference League. They're going to get slapped, though. They're going to get slapped. This PSG are different gravy granules. Not only did they slap, you know, Inter 5-0 up in the Champions League final, which was history-making. In the semi-final, they beat Real Madrid 4-0. You know, even if Chelsea don't do as bad as those 2 European greats, Inter and Real Madrid, Chelsea might get away with a 3-0 loss. Chelsea won 3-0. It was convincing, you know. PSG lost their minds. They were fighting the players and the Chelsea players and stuff. And even like Luis Enrique put his hand around Joao Pedro's neck. They wanted to win. So with all that considered, you know, if they sort Tottenham have to look at this as they competed against a very, very good team. Ange Postecoglou, for context, I know there's a lot of upset Spurs fans at the moment this morning, but for context, Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham, whether it was a stinky attempt as defensive football, which he played in the Europa League and somehow, you know, he deservedly won it, but it was an awful final and the football was awful, or his like philosophical ethos, his like style of play in the league that was just left him open, you know, completely, and everyone was scoring loads of goals against him. Either one of those approaches from Ange Postecoglou probably would have got battered by PSG. And then Thomas Frank comes in, he has revitalised them. I do like him as a coach. He's a great coach, I think. I think he's really got a great personality. He's quite straight shooting. He deserves this chance at Tottenham. And they need signings. They need a little bit more creativity in the midfield. Of course, they didn't have Kulusevski. Madison's out for the majority of the season. That's why they're in talks with Eberechi Eze. And I actually think they have to sign. They just have to go for him. It'll be funny because Arsenal are trying to get him as well. And if Tottenham, the biggest winners of last night isn't PSG. They win trophies all the time. It's Arsenal, because Arsenal already had to watch Tottenham win a Europa League final. You know, a trophy they would love. It's a respectable European trophy. Arsenal were gagging for European pedigree. If they won the Supercup against PSG, like Arsenal fans would have hated watching Chelsea beat PSG 3-0 in the Club World Cup. But there is an element of, well, Chelsea have got multiple Champions League, they've got multiple Super Cups, they've already got a Club World Cup in its previous iteration, they've got multiple Europa Leagues, beating Arsenal 4-1 in the final. There's that kind of acceptance from Arsenal fans that Chelsea do sort of win these. But their main North London rival Tottenham, if they start, you know, winning international trophies, European trophies on the regs, that would have been, you know, the biggest celebration online yesterday wasn't from PSG fans. They win stuff all the time. They've just won the quadruple. It was from Arsenal fans, yeah? They were absolutely delighted with that. But look, it was a really interesting game to watch. I do think it's a fascinating appointment still, Frank. I think he makes them a lot better. I think if they sign Eze, they'll be fine. They'll get a top 8 finish, I think. I think so. I mean, they're more equipped to get a top 8 finish, some form of European football, than Man United. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking this video, yeah, and subscribing. Let's see if we can get to 20k subs. Thanks for your support, guys. See you soon. Peace.